Alright, let's get pumped! It's time to take the energy level through the roof! Stretch out and limber up, because today we're going toe-to-toe with American Gladiators!
If you're a child of the 80s like me, you probably know all about American Gladiators. But for those who weren't around yet to experience the spectacle firsthand, allow me to fill you in. The original American Gladiators aired from 1989 to 1996. The series pitted everyday Joe and Jane schmoes in a competition against the titular gladiators for prizes and money.
American Gladiators caught my attention in a big bad way. There was nothing like it at the time, and there really hasn't been anything that measures up to it in scope since. There was so much to love about it. The David and Goliath dynamic, the pro wrestling vibe, even the gladiators themselves, with colorful names like Ice, Gemini, and Nitro. What was it to love about it?
The show became a huge hit, and owing to its popularity, a video game release for the NES was pretty much inevitable, especially since the format, with all the amazing events, presented a wealth of possibilities for level design. American Gladiators the video game was released by GameTek in 1991 at the height of Gladiator Mania. GameTek, more than any other company, cornered the market on licensed titles based on syndicated programming like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, among others. Don't let that fool you. This game really does capture the excitement of epic athletic competition, but cranked up to 11 on the Nigel Tufnel scale of awesome! The adrenaline kicks in as soon as the console's turned on. Most games might start with a black screen with pertinent credits and accompanied by a nice little tune that sets the mood. In American Gladiators, a contestant drops from the top of your screen and leaps from credit to credit, to the beat of some of the hypest music featured on the console.
Music just pumps you up. It really does capture that gladiator feel. It makes you feel like you can take on the world.
This leads into the title screen with more rockin' beats and the options to play the game alone or with a buddy, and a password section to continue your progress. If you're lucky to get that far. More on that later. Starting a game brings up the event selection screen, the sight of which will bring a smile to anyone familiar with the series.
You get 5 events, 5 of the signature events in the American Gladiators to choose from the start. You have Joust, Wall, Human Cannonball, Powerball, and Assault. Let's start with one of my favorites, Human Cannonball.
In the Human Cannonball, the gladiators stand perched on rising platforms, on guard with a blocking pad, and your task is to send them flying to the depths below. A press of the A button makes the contestant jump to the swinging rope, and another press at the right time will release your hold, violently knocking the gladiator off, screaming in agony to the depths below. Releasing at the wrong time? Well, look no further than my capture sessions.
Here. Oh no. That was dumb. Oh! I'm playing awful.
Crank to 11?
Please go to 11.
Maybe 11,000 is more accurate. The developer took an already exaggerated premise involving a contestant swinging down on a rope from a stationary structure, sending all of their weight crashing against the rock-like gladiators, and brought it to a whole other level. On a completely different planet, in a solar system light years away. This is the trend with pretty much all of the events as translated in the GameTek release.
A lot of these events are on elevated platforms that ascend and descend. That's just the style of American Gladiators. It's just one-on-one, you and the Gladiator.
American Gladiators may not be a perfect translation of the TV show to an 8-bit cartridge, but all of the changes that are made are for the better, so I'm not complaining. Speaking of that, I might as well talk about the one event that most closely mirrors its roots from the series, Powerball. Like on the show, there are a number of hoops with ball dispensers on either end of the field. Your objective is to place as many balls and as many hoops as you can before the timer runs out. Judging by Gold's saying prior to the event, a minimum of 5 goals have to be scored in order to advance to the next section. Of course, the Gladiators will do anything in their power to keep you from scoring, and they do a pretty good job at it. Most of the time.
Look at that. Just look at that. He's just running into it, and I'm not even anywhere over there. What the hell's going on with him? Look at that. He's stuck. He's not going anywhere. Keeps on ramming his head into that one goal area.
All in all, it's pretty straightforward and the easiest to complete of all the events. Next up, Joust.
When people think American Gladiators, they think of Joust.
This again is a hyper-reality version of the event, where players have to clear not 1, but 4 gladiators, armed with the trusty Pugil Stick, in the process leaping from platform to platform to reach the next target.
It'd be awesome if they actually did that in the show. They never jumped from platform to platform. That would have been amazing.
A and B are both used to swing at the defending gladiators, with the D-pad controlling the types of hits, while A is also used to jump between the platforms. Just before the final gladiator, a special power Pugil Stick is thrown to the contestant from across the screen. Here's what happens when you successfully catch the power-up and confront the last gladiator.
Power Stick one-shots. Watch this. Bam.
It doesn't get much cooler than that.
Before I get into the other events, I want to bring up an interesting observation I made when I was capturing footage involving a certain pro wrestler from yesteryear. It really seems like a lot of these gladiators look like Ric Flair. Ric Flair, get out of my way. Oh, you Ric Flair looking man. Ric Flair died a horrible death by jousting stick. See what I mean? The Nature Boy is all over American Gladiators. And now that I've said it, you'll never be able to look at this game the same way again. Woo!
Anyway, back to the action with Assault. Assault as depicted in the game isn't too far removed from the real event, except that the gladiator is in this moving gun, making the action more intense. There's ammunition, or Nerf missiles as I like to call them, behind the level's safe areas, and you have to take the gladiator out before they get you. B picks up the ammunition and A fires. 3 hits of the gladiator turns their attack vehicle into a crushed cube. However, if you are in a pacifistic mood, the event can also be completed by crossing the finish line, leaving the gladiator in one piece. Assault is one of the easier events and one of my favorites, so I give it a big thumbs up. Last, but far from least, the wall. If you fought any of the previous events for something, wait until you check out the wall. Boiled down to the basic elements, it's the same as the TV series, with the contestant given a head start at climbing the aforementioned peak before the gladiators pursue their prey. However, the developer took all of that and made the gladiators 10 times more rabid, some of whom existing only to kamikaze drop on an unsuspecting contestant. On top of this, the path was changed from the traditional linear ascent to shifting horizontal and vertical planes, with dead spaces among the gripping areas that break the contestant's handhold, instigating a free fall to the ground below. Factor in that music, which heads into overdrive as the gladiators start their bloodthirsty climb.
It's intense. It starts out really soft, it has that ominous drone when it's just you on the screen. But then the gladiators come full tilt. and you almost shit yourself.
The control is simple in theory, but very complicated in execution. To change hands, you alternate between the A and B buttons. A controlling the right hand, B controlling the left.
Kind of like track and field, but nowhere near as fast, and actually much more frightening than track and field.
This was always the hardest event for me, and it still is, but for some reason, in my recent playthrough, I finally figured out that the best method is to use 2 fingers, one on each button, as opposed to only using my thumb like I had previously.
It's just your thumb gets... I mean, I know you can go like... Maybe that's what you're supposed to do. I'm hauling ass. How did I never think to do this? Oh, holy hell. Where'd he go? Oh, you go over there. That's the farthest I've ever gotten in the wall.
As you can clearly see, this made a world of difference, and I made it further than I ever had before. Regardless, even with my newfound prowess, the wall was still too much for me, and one attempt after another resulted in failure.
Ah! Man. Oh! Come on! Oh!
I guess it's kind of fitting that the wall is the roadblock that has impeded my progress in American Gladiators.
From what I've read, after beating the wall, there are 4 more levels, repeating the same events, and then the final stage, the Eliminator. The Eliminator is off the wall insane! So there's the possibility that even if I do beat the wall someday, I could still get my ass handed to me in the home stretch. Even if it is at the highest tier on the NES hard scale, I still want to experience it for myself without resorting to using a password. If I never make it to the obstacle course from hell, I'll still continue to enjoy American Gladiators. The music is fast-paced and energetic, the action is through the roof nuts, and there's some humor in the pre-event banner from the Gladiators themselves. To hit and not be hit, that is the answer. Shakespeare wish he wrote that. Gladiators never surrender. You're gonna surrender when you get my Nerf missile up your ass. Just another day on the ranch? What does that have to do with anything? What kind of saying is that? Is that supposed to intimidate me somehow? Just another day on the ranch? What? I don't get you, Laser. Get a better scriptwriter. American Gladiators is easily the pinnacle of GameTek's brief existence, and is one of the best sports titles for the NES. The Super Nintendo version, on the other hand, doesn't fare as well. It more accurately depicts most of the events in their proper form, but it's boring in comparison to the NES version. I give the Super Nintendo version points for including events that were omitted from the earlier Nintendo console's release, but this positive is far outweighed by the many negative traits. The music is forgettable, with no sound effects at all, the controls are confusing, and the first-person perspective levels do more to take the player out of the experience than immerse them. To put it another way, the NES version is a fiery Molotov cocktail to the Super Nintendo game's lackluster sparkler. I have a lot of fond memories of playing American Gladiators with my cousins when I was younger, so I suppose nostalgia may play a part in my enjoyment of this game, but I have a feeling I would enjoy it just as much if I played it for the first time at 10 or 30. If you are a fan of the show and never played the game, I recommend seeking this out. If you've never watched the show and are just looking for a good, fun, sports-like title, this is the one to pick up. And last I checked, it can still be found for a decent price. American Gladiators for NES is a non-stop thrill ride from start to finish, and is a solid overlooked title that deserves more recognition. Did I mention you can pummel Ric Flair with a Pugil Stick? If that's not enough to seal the deal, I don't know what will.